next team we're going to cover, Avi, they have no such concerns when it comes to their offense.
Oh my God.
The Los Angeles Clippers, they're a monster. They started the season 3-7, coming off of a 6-game losing streak. Some of those were around the time of the play-in tournament games. Since then, they've been 33-10. It's propelled them to a 36-17 record. That's third in the Western Conference. Second offense with 121.5 points per 100 possessions. So that is not a problem for them whatsoever. On the flip side, though, they don't struggle with defense either. And defense, actually, before they really got their feet under them, that's what kind of sustained them when the offense was still kind of finding its way. They currently rank 8th in defensive rating as of today, 114 points per 100 possessions allowed. And they have a plus 5.0 adjusted net rating. That's 5th in the NBA. So when you look at them as a whole from both ends of the court, they can do it all. They can go out there and get points. You got Kawhi, you got PG, you got James Harden, who for multiple years was the leading man as far as points per game in the NBA. On the other side of the court, Kawhi and PG, they do that same. They're just as powerful, versatile on defense as offense. You bring in a guy like Zubac to man the middle. He's not a Gobert, but a very solid rim protector in his own right. Terrence Mann can hold his own on defense. Westbrook is still going to hustle. And James Harden is, just like we talked about with like Mike Conley and those guys, like, yeah, individual defender, they're not the greatest. But when you have those wing pieces in the rim protection to supplement him, he's not bad. And especially if he's playing a bigger player, he's going to be more at home because he's always been stronger as a post defender rather than chasing a speedy guard around the perimeter. That's still not quite his forte, but he's not terrible. He gives some effort. He's been better this year. And I think part of the reason for that is just playing with a roster he knows is going to have his back. If he does go out there and make a gamble and somehow gets beat, it's not going to be game over for the Clippers. There's still going to be a chance to get a stop, and he doesn't have to worry about getting absolutely exploited on every possession. So for them, there's so many pieces of the equation that are coming together. They have the offensive production, like we just mentioned, the shooting, the defense. They have depth as well. Just thinking about the rotation, hey, if something happens to Zubac, like he misses a few weeks like he did before the All-Star break, here comes Mason Plumlee to kind of supplement that offense and, give them some passing ability from the 5 spot, give them the rebounding. And you have Westbrook off the bench. Perfect role for him, by the way.
Yes,
perfect. He's been off the bench. It just fits him so well. It's like that energy that he brings to the court every night, harnessed in a role off the bench as a 6th man, not having to play all these minutes with 3 other elite offensive talents. It fits so well. So him as a spark plug is just like he's just made for this role in the latter stage of his career. It all fits so well. So Tyronn Lue is still a mastermind as a coach. That kind of ties all the pieces together. And yeah, I mean, ever since they made that trade and they had some games to kind of figure out what they were doing on offense and kind of separate Westbrook from that other core bunch, that's what's made the difference. Oh, and Norman Powell. Let's not forget about Norman Powell.
Don't forget Norman Powell.
Another, very strong bench contributor on offense. So they're rolling right now. They're in a great place. They might end up top of the West, but I mean, bare minimum, they're having home court advantage in the first round. So that's kind of the story on them. There's so much in their favor, but I know there's so much more we get into here. So what you got to say about this new and improved Clipper squad?
The stats. I mean, every time I look at what I'm about to say, I'm just like, okay, remember, these are the stats. But every time I see them, they just make me laugh and shake my head because they're absolutely ridiculous. Since December 1st of this year, they're 28-7 with a +9 cleaning the glass of point differential per 100 possessions. With the number 1 offense in the league, that's scoring 125 points per 100 possessions, which is ridiculous. And it's not just driven, their bench is great, but it's not driven solely by the bench.
Right.
Their starting lineups or their main lineups where they have Paul George, Harden, Kawhi, Terrence Mann, and a center. Those lineups of theirs make up about 500 minutes worth of lineups that they've played this year. And they're outscoring opponents by 15 points per 100 possession, with those guys. I
They're
mean,
putting in work
that's absurd. That's crazy. You should not be able to do that. Like I
right.
know you have that star power, and I know how good Terrence Mann and Plumlee and Zubac and the centers are, and that you have Norman Powell and Westbrook, and just even Coffee's coming in for some of these minutes.
Yeah, he's been
But
solid as well.
you should not be able to be as good as they are. And it all comes down to they've done such a good job of sacrificing individually to make sure the team improves.
For
Paul
sure.
George is taking less of a playmaker role than he has in years past and
Hmm.
delegating more of that to James Harden.
Yep.
Harden has just decided it's fine. I'm not going to be the big time scorer I once was. I'll average 17 or 18 a game, but I'm going to be that dynamic playmaker similar to how I was with the Nets. And every time I shoot, it will go in. Like I'm solely focused on efficiency with my smaller volume and then a huge playmaking load.
Hmm.
Westbrook, completely devoted to coming off the bench. Norman Powell, he's lived this life for years. He's a veteran with this. Terrence Mann, Terrence Mann's usage is almost nothing at this point, but it's
Yeah,
completely fine
really
because
low.
when he's touching the ball, his shots are actually starting to go in after a slump to start the year. So they're fine on that front. Zubac knows exactly what he is as a drop big. Same with Plumlee. And it helps when Kawhi is healthy and Kawhi's Kawhi. So
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, this team is ridiculous.
they
It's
really
it's
are.
really it is an all-star team. Like you really could make the case. I was seriously considering putting Harden on the all-star team, and he's actually moving this year on defense. He's
He was
shuffling his feet.
worthy. He had a case for sure.
It's
He's been so good.
This team is
Everybody's
silly.
just. I think it's
It's
just.
silly.
Yeah, they're in a perfect place in their careers now to where none of them have to shoulder too much of the responsibility. Like you said, with Paul George now being more of a guy that, hey, he come off of screens, he's coming off
Yeah,
of pin downs, he's getting great looks from three with great screeners. I mean, they can use Westbrook as a screener. They have those great big men as screeners to get him space, and he's comfortable in that role as well. He's done that in the past, so now he's not going to get worn down. Kawhi's not going to get worn down. Harden is not going to get exploited. He has lost a step, but like you said, he's not playing in that role as much as he used to as a primary ball handler, dominating every possession. Sometimes he could be a spot three-point shooter, and he's
yeah.
good at that role. He can do that just fine. So now that everybody, hey, their responsibilities have gone down a little bit. Instead of being a 30% usage player, hey, maybe you're in the low 20s or something to that effect. It just boosts everybody's game, everybody's efficiency. They amplify each other's game. And then it's like when the bench comes in, they don't lose a step really. With a lot of teams in the NBA, you bring in the bench, it's like, okay, relax a little bit. You don't have those game-changing threats on offense out there on the floor anymore. You can't really do that with the Clippers, especially with Westbrook coming in. You can't take your foot off the gas. So he's coming in, he's having a great impact with them. And I'm glad you brought up Amir Coffey because there have been a few games here. Kawhi missed, I think, their last game before the All-Star break. Oh, hey, let's bring in Amir Coffey, 6'7" wing, to come in here and give us some good minutes. I mean, yeah, he's not playing a ton of minutes and his usage is very low, just like Terrence Mann. But I mean, 45% on the season from three, he
He's
just
just
knows
making
the
everything.
does it. Yeah, he's just coming in and being a low usage star. So this is a guy it's easy to forget about him, but he is 26. He's experienced. He's been around for a while. He's been with the Clippers for a while. He kind of knows the lay of the land, and everybody's just come to a point, like you said, they've realized that we have to be great as a unit. We've been great individually before in years past with the Raptors, Spurs with Kawhi, and the Thunder, the Pacers with Paul George, the Thunder with Westbrook. Now it's time to come together and be a great unit, and they've done that so well. So in any game you watch, they're going to really put the pressure on you at both ends of the floor for 48 minutes. There's not really going to be any kind of let up in their game, and just super impressed with what they've done. And they're not even giving any minutes to PJ Tucker. That's kind of crazy that they have him just kind of collecting dust. They sent him home before the All-Star break. They said, hey, just go get a head start on your vacation and we'll see in a couple weeks. So they
That's
have
fine.
it's such a luxury. They just have so many pieces that could really contribute. Bones Highlands collecting dust. I feel kind of bad for him because I know he has more to contribute. He just doesn't have the chance right now with Westbrook and Terrence Mann. But that's how it goes on a championship team. Sometimes you just gonna have to wait your turn, and I'm sure he'll get more opportunities in the future. But for now, it's just he's just gonna have to deal with watching all these wins rack up on the sideline.
I mean, he can't really defend. I mean, that's kind of the issue. It's not even the
That's
offense
his
always
Achilles
with him.
heel.
He can't
Yeah.
defend. That's the reason the Nuggets traded him in the first place. He's just an awful defender to watch. I'm not trying to pick on him. It's just it is what it
Yeah,
is.
it's facts.
And especially when you're on a team like this, I mean, just Harden and Westbrook aside, you can look at those two, but if you look at this team as a whole and just where they've been individually at different points, Mason Plumlee was just toiling away on the Hornets, almost considered a throw-in in some ways. Tice was cut, right? Coffee was in trade rumors for so long, where it was, oh, he's like this low volume bench guy. I mean, he's kind of a 3-and-D guy, but what do we do with him? He had his name just floating around in trade rumors to almost every team in the league for a year there. Terrence Mann had his name a whole bunch of times thrown in trade rumors, and he wasn't hitting shots at the start of the season, and his usage has completely disappeared, and he's not complaining either. Westbrook is setting screens for other guards and for Kawhi and Paul George. I
I
mean,
love that.
considering what the discourse was when he was with the Lakers, where it was, hey, Westbrook's not going to set a screen for anybody. Westbrook's not going to be involved in the action or try to involve himself unless he has the ball. Harden's, I mean, rightfully been criticized for never moving his feet on defense and just being like, hey, you guys just switch or do whatever, and I'm just going to be in the post every once in a while and try to defend there. I'm not moving my feet at all. The fact that they've gone this entire group of 10 men to just throw aside egos, throw aside whatever prior ideas they had about how they want to play basketball, and then just come together to play this one devastating, dominant style of team ball, I think is such a credit to Ty Lue and all of his assistants for being able to work individually with each of these players to help them hone in on the skills that they need, like with Harden and his catch and shoot 3-point shooting, or with Westbrook and working on redeveloping himself as a cutter. And to have the coaching staff do that with these players individually and then have it all work together as a team is just coach of the year this year is going to be tough. And you could really make a case for Tyronn Lue as coach of the year just for
Oh,
that.
for sure. For sure. Like coach of the year is always tough, but this year especially when
Oh
you
my
look at
God. This year is
all
so
four of
much
these
worse than past
teams,
years.
and then you go to the East, and you have another, that I don't know about how many coaches over there that really have an opportunity. I'd say maybe one right now. I
I
know
give
one.
Bickerstaff and maybe Missoula a look. I think those are
Yeah,
the
yeah.
maybe Nurse, but with him beat out, he's just not going to win it.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Not enough wins. I know one coach that definitely will not win Coach of the Year in the Eastern Conference. I just
All I'll
don't.
say is that JJ was right. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I think he's right too. Honestly, that's tragic, really, over there in the Eastern Conference. Uh, but yeah, I mean the consensus here on the Clippers is, I mean, they've been so strong, and there's no reason to believe that they're gonna not continue to be a great team down the stretch. They have everything you need. The only thing that can hold them back at this point is health. That's the only
Oh,
really weakness I see in this team. I mean, I don't want to play them in the playoffs if they're healthy at 100%. I do not want to see them. If they are 100%, I think they have as great an opportunity as any team in the NBA to win a championship. And I've
I'm just
historically
knocking on wood, man.
just find whatever wood you got in your room and just hit it
Yeah,
right
man.
now because we want to see it. We need to see Kawhi go through a whole playoff run healthy. It's been too long. But for the Clippers, I mean, this is their prime opportunity. They have the depth, they have the sacrifice, they have the shooting has been great. They're first in the league in 3-point percentage at 39.3. They're hitting everything. That's what you need if you're really gonna, just have an incredible offense and a great chance to win a championship. But they just need to be healthy. If they're healthy, they have everything they need. And for Harden specifically, this is a big stretch for him because we know
Yeah.
he's had playoff failures in the past. Just go back to last spring and look at those last two games in that Sixers Celtics series. And that tells you all you need to know about his history on that front. But this year, it's a different story. He doesn't have to bear that brunt alone, that burden. If he is inefficient, if he has one of those games to where he's off, it's not a death sentence because he's not one. They don't depend on him that much for the production.
Yep.
Paul George can come through. Kawhi is going to come through. Kawhi comes through every time. He's the anti-Harden. In the playoffs, he ups his game
Hey,
every time.
Harden gets a bad rap sometimes. Like I know how many playoff series he's had recently where it's just like, oh, I'm not even going to shoot the ball, or oh, all of a sudden I'm just going to keep shooting and never pass you the ball, or like defensive, I'm not going to move. But I feel like people overlook how good early Harden was. Just people completely throw out early Harden just because of that one series against the Spurs where Manu blocked him, and it was just like really
Oh man,
embarrassing how he lost that game to
he
the
was
Spurs
awful
without
though.
Kawhi. Like I think that just completely painted a picture of Harden, young Harden, even being a complete choker in the playoffs. But he performed really well in the playoffs in his early years, and that's also kind of why this is so important for him because this year, okay, if he doesn't feel like he wants to shoot, the matchup doesn't uh, like warrant that. That's fine. Just keep
Yeah,
being a
he'll
playmaker.
be
Just
fine
pass it to Paul George and Kawhi. It'll be good, and you
for
can
sure.
probably win your championship this year. And once you do that, the narrative will probably switch almost completely. People will go back then and probably start talking about how you were in 2015 when you lost to the Warriors, or in 2018 when you lost to the Warriors and you were ungodly, just an MVP all year and almost one man show carrying it, the team at times to that 7 game series against the Warriors, the peak Warriors, the Kevin Durant Warriors. Like
Hmm.
he's had really good playoff runs before, and it's just that it's so easy to throw them aside because he also has so many other playoff series where he just hasn't lived up to what he can be. And this is the year for him to finally put everything aside, dig into what the team is asking him to do, play real defense, and win the championship that has eluded him for so many years.
Exactly. They have a prime opportunity to get there. They've never been to the finals, so I would love to see them do it this year.
Yeah.
Really kind of break through.